This is the Alden Report.
All right. Well, here we are in Blue Bay Studios. I am rocking my 99-cent glasses. For those of you who are watching, if you're listening, you're always hearing me talk about my 99-cent glasses. And I don't know. I just feel like they make me look cool, especially when I'm tired. It's just so much easier. And I'll let everybody in a little secret for this episode in particular. I did put a little bit of makeup on, and my next guest is probably going to make fun of me because of it, because he is an 8-year combat veteran. He is here on Veterans Day as well. And I'm really excited to have him on. I've been watching his content, connecting with him on Facebook and on Instagram. His name is Justin Brock. He's an expert within the world of Medicare and healthcare. But I think one of the things that really attracted me to him was just his content as far as, what it takes to be successful in business and what it takes to be an entrepreneur. He's built a very successful insurance business. And right now is depending on when you're listening to this, but here we are in November. Right now is probably the busiest time of year for him. I know a little bit about it. So for him to take the time for us also on Veterans Day, it's kind of a big deal for me. So, buckle up because this is going to be a fun interview. Justin, thanks so much for being my guest.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me.
So now I have the glasses on. There we go. You got your glasses on. I like it. You showed me those earlier.
I got these for free. Yours are expensive.
These were 99 cents. And usually yours are free. And I know you talk about real estate and wealth and, and just, kind of cutting expenses and stuff. So yeah, I do have a couple of these. I've never bought expensive glasses, although I do have a pair of Ray-Bans that were just given to me as a gift. And of course, they're broken around here somewhere. I feel like these 99-cent ones are just as good as any like Prada, whatever they are. Like no one really knows, right?
Hey man, they look pretty good. You look like the T1000 from
So again, I know everyone says it, and just because they feel like they have to say it. My father's in the Coast Guard. I actually tried to go JAG as an attorney. I made it pretty far through the Air Force. But I didn't make it to the final cut. So thank you again for your service and being here. 8-year combat veteran, man. I'm sure you've seen a lot of stuff. So thank you for your service with all sincerity. I remember when I interviewed my closest friend was an MP. And I asked him, I said, hey, if I'm going to go JAG, where should I go? Now he was with the Army, and he said, go with the Air Force. And I said, why? He says, well, because it's the greatest branch in the military. And I said, why? He says, well, it just is. And I said, okay, so I'll tell you the story. Then I want to hear your story, but this is not about me, but I have to tell it now because we're talking about it. So I go to interview for the JAG program 2 days before the bar exam with the Air Force. And this colonel is interviewing me, and it's hot. It's July. I'm in a suit. I'm nervous. I don't know anything about the military. I'm on a Hanscom Air Force base. And he says to me, well, he asked me a lot of questions, but one of them was, why'd you choose the Air Force? And I said, well, I asked my best friend who was an MP with the Army, and I asked him that question, where should I go? And my best friend said, the Air Force. And he goes, that's why? And I go, yeah. And he goes, okay, I can respect that. I didn't make it. But so you're an 8-year combat veteran, I believe, with the Army. Yes.
No, I was with the Marine Corps.
With the Marines. Yeah. All right. So tell us a little bit about that. So when did you enlist? Was it right out of high school? I know that you also tell me a little bit about that, how that started for you.
Oh, it was, so coming out of high school, I wanted to join straight out of high school. I had a wreck and broke my foot. And so it kind of deferred me to going to college. I went to college for the first semester and did fine, but it just I just wasn't into it, just wasn't my thing at the time. And so I waited about 6 months and healed my foot up really good and got back to where I could go. And I dipped in and joined when I was 18, or like the latter part of my 18th year. And so in boot camp, I turned 19. So it wasn't straight out of high school, but it wasn't that long after. Went to Paris Island. So it was 2006. And, it's sucked, but it's awesome, that to go through some of that. You go to combat training, you go to MOS school afterwards. It was funny. I went to MOS school back in Mississippi. I joined the Marine Corps, like getting out of Mississippi, never coming back. never coming back. Got to go see the world. And then I was in combat training, and at the end they tell you where your MOS school is going to be and what your MOS is. You don't even know what you're going to do. And they said you're 7041 aviation operations specialist, and your MOS school is going to be in Meridian, Mississippi. And I was like, it's awful. Like, I wanted to go see cool stuff, and I'm going back to my home state. But I was there for a few months. Then I was in North Carolina again, in Cherry Point. I went to Iraq for 8 months. Then came back and kept supporting some of those OEF requirements at the time. And then my last 4 years, I was in Japan. Right after my son was born, we moved there. My daughter was born in Tokyo, and my wife was along for the ride the whole time while they just shipped me all over the place. And I would do a lot of 2-month detachments in different Japanese areas and South Korea and Thailand and a lot of those places. So did get to see a lot. Had a good job. Got to meet John McCain one time. Got to meet a lot of generals and stuff. So I did have good jobs. I had a really good experience. Had friends that were not as fortunate as I, and so I don't have anything bad to say about my time. There's some things that I don't like about the government,
Right.
but I love Marines, and I love people who serve. This is where I think sometimes the country gets a little off track, is when they blame veterans for what congressmen send them to do.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I mean?
crazy to me.
When you're 19, 18 years old and you're enlisting, your heart's in the right place. You don't know all the things. And there's some times where I think that we have been used for, almost like propaganda or the military industrial complex a little bit. So I do get a little off on that. But it's not the people in the military doing that. They don't even know what they're getting into until they get over there. They've been propagandized just like the rest of us by the media. So, all we have to do now when we come back, I find that military members, most of them, if you talk to them about politics, pretty politically moderate because they don't trust either side.
Right.
So something that being part of it, I think, does to you. You're like, wait a minute, there's probably some BS in both of these opinions.
Yeah, I've had a couple military guys on. I had a former Navy SEAL on, and one of the things that, I mean, it's just kind of almost stating the obvious, right? But at 19 years old, you go in, or 18, you go in, and it's got to be a bit of a culture shock. But when I think about coming out, because you think about it a lot, where veterans come out, and it's like, and you're not necessarily prepared for life in the quote real world. And there's no the same correlation, but I remember being in law school and realizing that I had no experience as a lawyer, and I was getting out. And I was like, what am I going to do? So you go through 8 years combat training. When you get towards the end of your second term, do you say to yourself, am I going to stay in? Is this going to be my career? Did you think about that? And were you thinking about when you come out, like, how does that part work? Because I don't think a lot of people know how that works. Do they help transition you into civilian world?
They try to. So, in 8 years, I probably flip-flopped what I was going to do, what my plans were with the military or lack thereof several times. Early on, I got into a little bit of trouble and was like, man, I can't wait to get out of here. Then I, kind of pulled my head, out of the sand and started doing well again, and started getting promoted and getting recognized. And a lot of people, there for most of my time would have considered me a pretty, stellar Marine. Is the way that, I got sharp and quit getting in trouble, but when I first came, I was just young. A lot of young Marines get in trouble for stupid stuff. Like, you can't even drink when you're 18 or 19 years old. So you get in trouble for like underage drinking and stuff, which is kind of a whole nother silliness about the fact that you can go to Iraq, but you can't have beer. But we, once I started getting, back on the horse and really going, I got to where I was like, I really like this. I think I could make a career out of it. So I had my son, I re-enlisted the first time. Because you're doing 4-year segments. So you could have done that last 4 is what they call inactive duty, which most of the time means nothing. You just go back to civilian life, but it just kind of means they could recall you if they needed you.
Right.
Well, I just went ahead and re-enlisted and thought, I may make a career out of this. Let's give it 4 more years and let's shake things up a little bit and see what happens. and we went to Japan. And I really liked a lot of things about there, but something that really started to change my mind there is I had a son when I got there, was 3 months old, and they started sending me on these 2 months detachments. And when he was like 8, 9, 10 months, I'd leave, and 2 months later I come back. He didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And so those were short detachments, but it was just long enough for him to kind of almost forget you. And that was like kind of started to become an eye opener that, maybe the Marine Corps was not the place to have a family forever. And I started deciding to get out. Now, when we started, actually getting detached from the military, and they started, going through what they call, I'm probably going to butcher this. It's been a while, but like separations or seps and taps. They would put you through a transition course, and it was a bunch of nice ladies that would try to teach you how to write a resume and how to apply for jobs and how to collect on your benefits and and then it started getting into a little bit of the how to collect unemployment and how to do all these things. And I don't mean to, be rude to any of them, but they kind of teach you how to be a loser. and so I thankfully, when I was coming out of it, like I wasn't listening to any of that, because I had a plan, and my plan worked out. It could have not worked out, but I was fortunate and it worked out. But most of those guys, they don't know what they're doing. They're either going to go back to college or they're going to go try to get a job, and they're trying to get jobs using the MOS they had. But like, let's say you're an infantryman, how are you going to? That doesn't apply,
Right.
What are you that? So, and to be honest, the world doesn't. The country doesn't need. Well, especially when I was getting out, they didn't need all that many more cops.
Right.
So, I got my puppies in here. Puppies.
That's all right. I love dogs, man.
They're barking at us. Sorry.
That's right.
Apparently today is bring the dogs to the office day.
Right.
But yeah, so they do have a separations process, but it's just a class that kind of teaches you how to collect benefits and how to and really kind of wring the rag of VA and GI Bill and all that dry. Now, I'm not saying the veterans don't deserve those benefits, because I've been down that road of talking about it. I do think that sometimes some veterans milk it maybe more than they should. There's really hard charging veterans that really need those benefits, and then there's some that don't need them and they're trying to collect on them. However, I'm not going to get into whether they deserve them or not, but I don't think coaching people into collecting things. I mean, I'm talking about to the point where they were coaching us like, oh, if you say this, you'll get this much disability rating. Like, they're trying to teach you how to kind of game the approval system.
Yeah.
I didn't appreciate that, because I think like this is not like when I joined the Marine Corps, I'm a patriot. I believe in the country, and it's not about sucking it dry and pretending like because I served for 8 years, I deserve, to help to be a parasite on the system.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's almost the complete opposite of what you learned as a Marine and how to, right? I mean, that's like, mediocrity is not what it means to be a Marine or in any branch of the military for that matter.
And that's a problem. They have to get away from, you get your leg blown off. You have some severe, mental, anguish. But I'm talking about sometimes guys that never saw anything, and them teaching them how to get, 70, 80, 100% disabled rating so that they can get paid for the rest of their life. And the way I view it is that money was put there for people that were really messed up. And unfortunately, it gets taken advantage of. So they do have a separations process, but I think we'd be better off to just get rid of it.
So you said you had a plan. Again, one of the things that how I found you as well is you run a very successful insurance business. And so your plan, was it the insurance industry? How did you get involved in the insurance industry? Because again, right now we're in open enrollment, and I know you focus heavily on Medicare. I don't want to talk a lot about that because it's confusing. I don't understand it. I shouldn't need to understand it yet, but I know a lot of people are confused. But so how did you, get into the insurance business?
Yeah. So in the insurance industry, you can be a lot of things. You got your insurance companies, you have your large call center agencies, you got third-party administrators, marketing firms that recruit. But at the core of it all, the backbone, you have an independent agent. You have a guy that is out there trying to build on a book of people that he helps around his community. And when I was a kid, my dad was a carpet salesman at Sears, and we went to church one Sunday. And we weren't avid churchgoers. We would go through phases, and we go to a lot of different denominations. I've been to almost every church you can imagine. But my dad, at this time, we were going to Baldwin First Baptist Church. It's where I got baptized. I was 9 or 10 years old. And this American General AIG recruiter was there and told my dad that he looked like an insurance agent, which he didn't know if that was an insult or what, but she basically got him thinking maybe I should try insurance. So when I was 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there, he went and started working for American General. And at some point he quit that company and became an independent agent appointed with different companies and started trying to build his book one at a time, the hard way, the old school way, calling people out of the phone book, which isn't legal anymore. But he would calling people out of the phone book and just trying to go to their house and see if he could help them with anything. And I saw from the time that I was a kid until I was in the Marine Corps about to get out, him put together slowly but surely a 6-figure income. He was making a couple $100,000 a year. And to me at the time, I thought, okay, this is a guy, my dad had a GED. He was not stupid, but he wasn't like educated, he was not through a crazy education. And I saw him do it. I saw him climb from, poverty to strong middle class,
Right.
To me, coming out of the Marine Corps, if I could just what I really originally thought was if I could just replace what I'm making now, we'll be fine, And I thought if he can make $200,000 a year, $250,000 a year, surely I can go out and make $60,000 a year, $70,000, $80,000, and our family will be fine. Well, the cool thing about the insurance industry is that you're rewarded more in direct sales for your own work and activity than you are in any other business. And so I kind of got addicted to the high of finding someone, convincing them that I was the person to help them with something, helping them through something, whether it's save money or secure something or finding a loophole and maybe a policy they didn't know was there, helping them with that problem, and then getting paid a handsome, commission for that. And so it was almost like a dopamine thing for me, like a drug. And I got really addicted to it. And so then, over time, 60, 70, 80,000 wasn't the thing anymore. Then it was, well, how can I help so many people? And so I had some early onset success. I got into Facebook and, at a right time, I was running door-to-door style direct mail leads at the time. And I landed one lead. There's a lot of people with stories about like that one appointment that kind of changed them. Like maybe one guy got some big annuity rollover and he made, $150,000 in 30 minutes. And all of a sudden that really set, that catapults you up a little bit because now you're sitting on some big money. I never had an appointment like that, but I had an appointment that introduced me to 75 other people that all wanted my help. Right.
Yeah.
I had one appointment like that. I had Facebook really pick up early on. We were really big on Facebook. And
let me stop you there about that one. And because, one of my books is titled 5% More. And I talk about, it's that next lead, right? It's that next customer. It's that next phone call. It's that next text message. It's that next email. It's the next door that you knock on. And it is that one. And we hear it all the time. I think there's a book called The One as well. And, in sales, that's you hear that all the time, right? But it's hard because of all the rejections and the Zig Ziglar calls them temporary defeats, right? That you have over and over and over again. But yeah, talk about that, that one person, and really, I call it connection capital as well. So that one person, like you said, led to 75. Talk a little bit about that mentality as a sales professional and what that really means.
Yeah. So I think, one thing, like a lot of people would look at like, well, because I've gotten this too, like, oh, your dad was in the business, like that gave you a big leg up. It did give me a leg up. The leg up was I chose the right niche from the beginning, which I believe was Medicare. I think in insurance sales, Medicare and anything that has a compounding renewal concept is great because you're not on a hamster wheel. You're kind of building, a chain of residual income off of clients that you can service permanently. That gave me a leg up, but also, I would be able to talk to him about kind of some of the stuff. And he would say things to me early on, like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's, little things lead to big things. He would throw out all these euphemisms. And so I'm actually been working on it for a while. I've written a book, but I have another book that I'm writing that's about all these euphemisms you get told early on and how they become real over time.
Sure.
And you don't know what they mean at first. Like, what they mean, when somebody says it's a marathon, not a sprint, you mean, okay, it's a marathon. I got to stay the course. But then you live long enough, or you experience long enough, or it's not even living or experiencing. You do what you're supposed to do long enough to realize they were right. You know what I mean?
I do.
But those little euphemisms helped me realize, okay, I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. And having seen him do it, and we've done it bigger now. I mean, we have 2 companies that are both kind of supporting and directly involved in the insurance space. And, this year they'll surpass 5 million in revenue. And so it's bigger, and we have 20 employees now and a lot of momentum, but it's still the same, thing. I saw him go from 0 to 200,000 by putting one foot in front of the other. And so I just knew if I put one foot in front of the other and do that. Now, so I don't have it's not as clever as it's a marathon, not a sprint, but I've told people before, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But, you can be the Kenyan that wins the marathon too. Right. So it doesn't mean you have to, some people use that as a cop out. Like, well, it's a marathon, not a sprint, so I'm going to take it easy. I don't think that's what anybody meant. It means work hard, but understand that the fruit of your labor may not be tomorrow or next week or even next year. It's compounding, and it happens over time. And even if you're not chasing renewal commission, I've seen guys that were life guys, and life insurance is more upfront money. There's not a big renewal on the back end. But some of the guys that I know that have been doing it for years, they don't have to market at all anymore. Their network is so big, they can just kind of sit around, and people are calling them all day. Not all day necessarily, but they have so much inbound people from they've put in so much groundwork, here, that now they're on this side, and everybody's just calling them. And that's the thing about the insurance industry is, if you stay the course long enough, your network is going to be so big, or your renewal income is going to be so big. But it's definitely not a get rich quick scheme, because most people in the first 5 years fail at it and get out of it. It's probably one of the industries that the most people enter and don't make a career out of it, because they get recruited in and they're not told, and the expectations aren't set properly, or maybe they just don't have the work ethic for it. But, there's always jobs for people with no work ethic.
Absolutely. We're on with Justin Brock. If you've been listening since the beginning or watching, he is an 8-year Marine combat veteran here with us on Veterans Day, talking to us about not only about the insurance industry, but what it takes to be an entrepreneur, what it takes, to run a business. And I've been following him and on Instagram, as well on Facebook. If you'd like some more information about Justin, you just go to justinbrock.com. You can also check him out on Instagram at the Justin Brock. He's got some really cool content there. Not specifically just about, again, the insurance industry, about what it takes to be successful, just in business in general. So again, if you'd like some more information, go to justinbrock.com. So let's talk about, and I love what you're saying. I remember I interviewed while I was in law school with Northwestern Mutual Financial, and it was like 3 or 4 interviews, and it was crazy. I didn't have a 4th suit, right? So I go to 3 interviews, and I remember, I grew up really poor, and they guaranteed me, this is so 17 years ago, they guaranteed me that I would make, no matter what, 150,000 my first year, guaranteed it, no matter what, whether I earned it or not. Right.
Wow.
And I was like, this isn't real. Like, this doesn't make sense to me. I didn't know who Northwestern Mutual Financial really was. Again, 17 years ago, the internet, it was just starting to be a thing. So it was really even hard. And ultimately I told them, I said, they wanted me to come back for a fourth interview. I said, listen, if you can't make the decision, then I'm probably not your guy. The only reason why I didn't want to come back was, one, it was too far of a drive, and two, I didn't have a fourth suit. They did offer me the job though, because they kind of liked what I had to say. But man, I wish I had someone really talking to me about really what this industry was. And again, what connected me with you is I've been researching this industry for a whole host of reasons, but one of them is the career aspect of it. It is a great career for people. When you think about sales, right? And you talked about the residual, and I want you to talk about that a little bit more too. You talked about the residual. See, I sold cars right out of college, right? So, which was a great thing, best thing I probably could have done. But once I sell that car, customer may come back 3 years from now and then buy the car, but that's it. I'm done, right? But in the insurance business, whether it be life but I know in health insurance, it's a little more prevalent. There is that residual, right? Where the customer, you get paid month after month after month, the company and or the agent or both. Talk about that and just really how lucrative it really can be.
Yeah. So the first year is very difficult to make it on health alone because it isn't front end loaded. And so what we normally recommend to people is to look at going into life and health, so they can write a little bit of life insurance to get some of the more upfront money, and then the insurance company keeps the premium forever after that first year, and they're just giving you a little more on the front end. It kind of helps you get by those first couple of years while you're building a renewal income. But with Medicare or health insurance, what you're normally getting is a per member per month or a per member per year fee. And so just to give you an idea, like a street level Medicare Advantage customer, it's going up next year, but this year it's like $270 a year that Medicare customer pays a street level agent. It can get higher than that based on production, or it can be lower than that if you have more heavy support. But the average street level agent is going to be $270 renewal a year. He might get a little more the first year he signs them up. But you're getting to build that. And so let's say you had 1,000 clients, so that's $270,000 a year coming in. Now, by the time you have 1,000 clients, they've probably bumped your comp a little bit too, so you're getting even more than that. But even if you got 100, you've already gotten to 27,000 a year. That's base, right? And so now if you go and you sell a life policy every month, and you made $1,000 off each one, well, now you got 12,000 on top of your $27,000 base. Well, let's say you have 1,000 Medicare clients, you're making 270,000 a year, and then you do the same. You write 2 or 3 life policies just off of your book a month. Well, now you might make 2,000 or 3,000 a month. Let's say it's 3. That's 36,000 on top of the 270. Now you're making 306,000. So there's different ways to skin it. But like if you get into the point where you have a huge agency with lots of agents around the country you're working with, and you might be getting a smaller piece of the pie with some of them because you're having to pay them commission, but you're getting a sliver off the top of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of policies over time written. We can just be dripping nickels upward. So I don't know how many of your listeners have heard that term, dripping nickels, but if you think about residual revenue, let's think about some companies that we think are really big. AT&T. They're just getting residual revenue. You're paying monthly fees to them, right?
Sure.
If you have a cable subscription.
Comcast, Netflix.
These are just, it's not like you've ever handed Netflix $1,000 at one time, so you don't need $1,000 per customer to get rich. You don't need $100,000 per customer. You don't even need 500 per customer. If you're getting that monthly, and that's the way like a Medicare Advantage renewal, it's $270 a year, but they break it down to monthly. So you might be getting $22.50 a month off of that person. And so that's why I say, if you go out and you say, all right, I'm going to write, 100 this first year. Well, you're not going to make that much because every time you write one, you just pick up this $22.50, or they may advance you on some of it, but it's not that much. They're going to advance you for the rest of the calendar year. That's why initially you got to write something that gives you a little more cash, or you have to have some money to burn, like a savings that you're planning on living off of while you're building that renewal income up. And that's actually one of the things that keeps it from being as competitive, because plenty of people want to enter it, but it's hard. You are having to go out and figure out how to build trust or how to advertise or both. And then you're having to pick all these clients up and service them. And then as you get bigger and bigger, you're going to have to figure out how to scale your company to be able to support the amount of customers that you have. But it's a great business because, we have a business right now built on residual revenue. I mean, the majority of our income is coming from residual revenue. And so I don't have to worry like, okay, I have to go and chase down the next $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 sale next month so I can afford to make payroll.
Right.
My people are pretty much set where even if we didn't really sell anything for the next few months, we'd be fine to pay everybody. All of our expenses are paid because we've built a residual revenue model just by servicing our current clients and making sure that they stay happy and on the books. So it's a great model. And it doesn't cost your clients anything more to use your services. It's kind of built in as I put it this way, like, when you go to the store and you buy a Coke has spent their sales budget on marketing. Insurance companies have a sales budget, a budget on how much it costs them to acquire a client, how much they're willing to spend. They put a significant portion into the sales commissions, because a brand helps with insurance for sure, helps build trust, but people don't just go out and buy insurance. It's one of those things that they just kick down the road. They're just like, man, let's just kick that can down the road. Hopefully we're fine. I don't want to pay for something because I'd rather buy a new 4-wheeler, or I'd rather get more bonbons, or I'd rather go out to Mount Fuji Japanese Steakhouse twice a week or whatever. And so salespeople have to kind of educate them on what risk they are opening themselves up to. Sometimes they don't even really fully understand it. And so we have to find them, educate them, build trust, and then get them to purchase from us. In doing so, the company pays us a commission. But if they tried to go directly to that company and enroll, they'd pay the same thing because it's built into the actual cost to acquire a client.
So that's the part that's the part too that I might not understand. I mean, I kind of do understand it. So Medicaid, so maybe you can just talk to me like I'm to you. So Medicare is government subsidized healthcare. Is that an accurate way to describe it?
So it's government paid for healthcare, but it's paid for through tax revenue. So like if you got somebody on a W-2 somewhere, they're paying taxes into Medicare their whole life. And then they pay a Part B premium. In some cases, they paid a Part A premium, but most of the time, by the time they go on it, their Part A is free. So that's the two different parts of traditional Medicare. They make up hospital and medical. But when someone is on Medicare, they might be paying a small premium, but then they might have to pay a premium for additional coverage that goes with it, like a Medicare supplement, which would come in and supplement their Medicare, because Medicare alone has an unlimited out-of-pocket. So they need something to come in and make sure that they're not bleeding. Like if they have $1 million hospital crazy fiasco, they don't want to be paying 20% of it until the cows come home. And so we sell the supplement that closes that gap. And there's different ones to educate on, but we use, whichever one makes the most sense for their budget. There's also another component to it for drugs, and another component to it for kind of an all-in-one type of plan that has some different nuances to it, but that many people choose, called Medicare Advantage. And all of those plans have residual commissions for us, and either residual premiums for them, or they're subsidized by the federal government. So sometimes
why is it that each year, I'm a TV guy, and that world is changing, obviously, but obviously everybody knows, and I'm in your Facebook group, and people talk about Joe Namath and everyone, all these other different celebrities now, and Dynamite and all these other guys. They're using all these people to promote Medicare through their company, which you probably do some of that stuff yourself as well. But why is it that each year we're trying, I think there's companies that are trying to basically take a Medicare client and take them maybe from you and go to somewhere else? Why isn't it that the benefits, again, I just don't understand it, the benefits that they're entitled to, like, why doesn't it just happen? Or is it because different insurance companies are really kind of underneath? Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah. So the benefits that they're advertising actually come at a cost, even though they say they're free. And the cost is in giving up a little bit of flexibility in the network. It's in giving up a little bit of freedom of having your claims paid without prior authorization. So there's a program called Medicare Advantage, and it's technically in some ways been around for quite some time, but in the earlier 2000s, I think 2006, they renamed it the Medicare Advantage program, and it came out in the Bush Jr. administration when they were pushing out standardized drug coverage called Part D, and Part C, Medicare Advantage. Well, what a Medicare Advantage plan does is it takes you off of government Medicare and it puts you on a private Medicare plan.
Okay.
So now the insurance company is completely responsible for your claims, but they're also responsible. They also put some nuances on there, like we need you to go to this network, we need you to do this, and that's how they make their money, is trying to. It's just like any insurance company, they're trying to spend less than they're bringing in premiums. But the premiums on an Advantage plan come from the government.
Okay.
And so the government looks at it as, well, okay, if Humana or United Healthcare or Aetna is going to take on the payments for all the claims of this person, that's worth $800 a month to us, $900 a month, because they're completely taking it on, right? And so they're then transferring that over to the plan, and that plan sponsor or company is paying all those claims. Now, the reason it doesn't just happen is because there is some freedom given up. So what does happen is they do get traditional Medicare as long as they apply for it, like when they turn 65 or become disabled. And that those benefits are kind of automatic, right? There may be some premium tied to them, but it's a little bit more automatic. But they have to elect to go this other route. And so these people advertise to get them to call in so that they can then try to entice them to go that route. Now, Medicare Advantage is not bad. Medicare supplements are not bad. And so a lot of times we get into this pee and match between agents that like one or agents that like another.
Right.
The concept is whatever the client, believes that they want, and through a little bit more education, if they still believe that's what they want, we have to give them what they want. That was another euphemism that my dad used when I got in. He said, sell them what they want, then sell them what they need.
Yeah.
Very difficult to talk somebody out of something that they already believe they need or want. It's much easier to help them through that process. And then once you've helped them with something, their guard comes down, and then you can start to educate them a little bit more, and they're willing to listen to you, especially certain types of people. And you know those people, they're just a little more headstrong. But that's why it doesn't automatically happen, because there's a little bit of a sacrifice in some concepts for them to activate those benefits they're advertising on TV. And so they can't just give them to them. They have to choose that route. And so these insurance agencies want to be the ones to help them choose that route, because then they get the commissions. Now the TV ads, I know people that run them. We run some locally, but the Joe Namath ones and the JJ Dynamite ones, they're a little bit annoying to agents, because we don't particularly think that they're serving the market well.
Right.
They're just kind of whoring out the commission model as fast as possible. And we think that it's probably going to lead to more regulation on what we do. And so then the people that are doing the things correctly are going to have to jump through more loophole or more hurdles, more hurdles, because of those guys doing things the wrong way. And that's annoying. But that's every industry. There's always somebody that exploits, a loophole and then causes mayhem. And then the government comes and cracks down a little bit more. And then now the people that were doing it right from the get-go are still having to cut through more red tape. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I want to talk to you about kind of, marketing. I was watching one of your videos, about the leads. I was joking with you. I commented on one of your recent Instagram videos about the leads. And, I've been having discussions with people from all different industries about where are people buying, like, what's working, what isn't working. And I'd love to kind of, hear that from you, in your perspective in a second. Again, we're on with Justin Brock. Justin is an 8-year Marine combat veteran. He also runs a very successful health insurance or insurance company. He's also, he's motivated me in some of his stuff as well. And he's out there helping people and building businesses, not only helping the people, the clients that he's selling these services to, but he's also helping uplift other people as well. So if you'd like some more information about Justin, you just go to justinbrock.com. It's BROCK. You can check out his Instagram at the Justin Brock. And if you wanted to, you can check out his insurance company as well. It's called Bobby Brock Insurance. It's BobbyBrockInsurance.com. So again, go there and check him out. So, marketing as a TV guy, the world of television is not what it used to be. It's changing every day. And that rectangular box on your wall is, I would say within the next couple of years is not going to be anything like what it used to be. And so, when I think about where people are, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, talk about some of the things that you're doing to grow your business. And I think some of them are really fundamental basics too. Like I was watching one of your videos about the telephone, right? Telephone is still a pretty powerful marketing medium. What do you suggest for people that are out there, marketing, let's say a service-based business? Doesn't necessarily have to be insurance, but what are some of the things that you feel like are making sense right now?
Yeah, so we still use television. I will say that broadcast. Now we're in Medicare, so marketing to agents and Medicare beneficiaries has been completely different. And as you know, in TV, there's an age gap,
right?
A huge one, a big shelf. I mean, I just imagine with TV, it's going to change. It's going to change fast because of the entire demographic demand. But the older generation, if it changes too fast, they're going to be left like, what the hell's going on? I don't even know how to watch TV anymore.
Right.
So, but we still use like broadcast television in local markets that we're trying to target, and use informative commercials. I would love to get like the news style segments, like medical minutes, anything to kind of set us apart from being spammy. We try to advertise things to get them online now. So we give away a free book if they go to BobbyBrockInsurance.com/book. That works really well. We're always trying to get them to call in. Social media, that generation is heavily on Facebook. It's difficult to target them though, because a lot of people are trying to target.
Right.
And one of the best and worst things about Facebook is that anybody can go advertise on there. That's the best thing about it. The worst thing is that anyone can go advertise on there.
Right.
So you're competing against everybody. Google is a great place to find people, but it's very difficult. It's very expensive because smart people with big budgets are on there. And it's just very technical to get your keywords and your negative keywords to the point that it's producing fruit or bearing fruit.
Right.
So they're really, the best answer is you got to be everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
Problem with that is it's expensive to be everywhere all the time. And so if somebody has no money or not much money, they have to start investing in a brand with as much as they can, but then they have to do something that works. And some of the easier mediums that work still are direct mail and seminars are working fabulously and on a pretty small budget. But you can only go so far with that. Multimedia and social media and Google, organic and paid, those are the scalable mediums. I do think the phone, like once you have a lead and someone to call, that's the biggest problem you have when you're hiring agents is some of them they have call reluctance. They won't pick the damn phone up and call the people that you've already paid. You've paid to get their attention. They want the information and you're still not calling them. And so some people say they have a lead problem, but they're not willing to even work the leads and they have, but I just think if you can be as many places as possible, and you have to start branding yourself at some point, and I don't believe that branding yourself is using some pseudonym like Medicare Benefits Helpline. That's so cheesy and misleading sounding. I like people that brand themselves to Justin Brock. When I started advertising on Facebook for Medicare, I made the page that I made. It wasn't a profile. This is some people that are novice on social media. understand what I'm saying. A page, like a business page.
Sure.
Business page's name was Justin Brock.
Right.
So I made a public figure page, and this was 2013, 14, and then started advertising as Justin Brock. Now, early on, they didn't even make the post say sponsored. There were so many ways to target on there. Like, you could go on there and be like, I want, a white lady that likes Trump in Manatee whose income is under 20,000,
Who's got a credit card and likes dogs.
Yeah. You could do all kinds of stuff on there. And then they started getting more strict on what you could do. And that's not because I only want to hang out with white ladies that like Trump, but I'll just tell you, white ladies making 20,000 that like Trump were always really fond of me. So it worked out well. If I could find those, they were great. But, you could do that. You could target all kinds of stuff. And the Fair Housing Act and some of those things got a little strict on like income targeting and that stuff. And then they started making it say sponsored. So it's got a little bit harder, but the more places you can be and the more you can get your name out there, so you can get people actively looking for you. And now you're a commodity, as your service or your expertise is a commodity, and people are looking for you. That is the other side, where you're not worried about who to talk to. Now you're worried about how to help them all, and that's where you want to be. And you don't get there buying leads from other people. I'm not saying to never buy leads from other people, because you got to make money in the beginning, but you got to take that money and start investing it into making yourself a commodity and making people want you, not the service, not what you provide. That's why I say, don't say I'm Medicare benefits helpline. Don't say I'm senior solutions. Don't say this, the names these people come up with. Say I'm Justin Brock. I'm Justin Brock Insurance. I'm Bobby Brock Insurance. I'm Justin Brock, and make yourself that commodity. So
now, I think a lot of people, and you hear this, I'm on. I think you're also on Clubhouse. I don't think you're on it that often, but I hear there's all these rooms talking about, building your personal brand or building your own brand, and then a lot of people are reluctant because they don't want to be on camera, or they don't like the way they look, or they don't like the way they sound. What do you say to those people that that are like, hey, I don't feel like I'm good on camera. I don't look good. You just say too bad, and just, if you want to grow, this is what you got to do?
I would put it just as harsh, but reword it. And the harshness of it is that you have to first realize that most of the people that you follow had the same reluctance. They just had a little bit less of a give a shit meter.
Right.
So first thing that I think you got to understand is, I don't think that everybody that you see on camera producing content is a narcissist. And there's people that have accused me of being a narcissist because I'm putting out videos all the time. Literally, I've had that. I mean, people that, but that's their problem. They have an issue within themselves, and they can't accept that when somebody gets comfortable in their own skin and that they're happy with who they are and they don't really give a shit what other people think about them. And it's not that I don't give a shit. Like I tell my kids this. I'm like, look, I was telling my daughter the other day, I was like, there's two sides of this concept of not giving a shit what other people think. It's like, I want you to live a life where the majority of people that come in contact with you will think that you're a respectable, quality human being that is giving back to society and that you're a nice person. But I don't want you to give a shit what any one individual person thinks.
Right.
Because you cannot hang your emotional solitude on what one person thinks, or what two people say, or what three people say. Who cares? Most people appreciate the content that we put out. I've had a few that think that I'm a narcissist, whatever. But I had the same issues, man. I didn't like my voice. I still don't necessarily like my voice. I didn't think, like I look good on camera. I think I joke all the time. I got a 5 head. I think my forehead's too big. I think I got goofy elbows.
I wear the glasses because I naturally got bags under my eyes. See, look, so. But
we're always our own worst critic too. And this is not, I'm not in no way dogging females for saying that, but females have this issue more.
They do. Yeah.
They're very concerned with appearance.
It's funny you say that because I know that you had Bradley on. Bradley was at your Medicare con, and I've had Brad on the podcast, and corresponded with him and a bunch, and he's on this app Clubhouse. We're talking about, and Grant Cardone's all over it as well. I know you're a fan of his, and Elena Cardone talked about, it's exactly what you're saying, where women actually are somewhat disadvantaged because of society, where they do have to have their hair done, they do have to have their makeup on, they do have to have a nice dress on or what have you, and when they go out they gotta have heels on. Us guys, we have a little bit of an advantage. We're like, fuck it, we'll put a hat on, and just go, right? And so I empathize with women a little bit there on that as well. But I think you're right. At some point, you just have to say, okay, well, I'm going to start doing it.
And I've told them on the other side, and this could change. If they all listen to me, this would change. But right now, because women are more reluctant to do it, that the women that put themselves out there actually have an advantage over people like me and you, because there's so many men, and there's still not so many. And I'm not saying this to think men shouldn't do it either. Men should put themselves out there as well. But there are definitely more men that are doing it. And so it's more competitive.
Right.
Where women can become a breath of fresh air, especially if they're, say, targeting my Medicare demographic, for instance. I happen to think that the YouTube, like where you go on and you start YouTubing Medicare help or Medicare explain, you're going to see one woman for every 10 men producing a video, right? I think that the woman can be a breath of fresh air. I think that the woman on there, if she puts out some decent quality content, that they're more trusting. They don't feel like they're getting ripped off as much. I'm not saying any of the men on there are ripping them off. I happen to think the majority of the men on there are doing a good job too. But men are a little bit more threatening than women, and so they have that advantage too. So if they go out and do it, yes, they probably have to get dolled up and all that, and they have to stop caring what people think. But once they do, they could probably produce half the content that, say, some random guy did, and get double the result. And that's just because society as a whole, overall, I do think responds more positively to them. Of course, there are some sickos out there that are, say harsh things and might put sexual innuendos in there, or say stuff that they shouldn't, but that's a small minority. And the way society is today, they're getting beaten back further and further. Most of them that still do it are hiding under pseudonyms on YouTube, like, Stud Guy 411 or something. He's not even a real person. I had somebody the other day that wrote something on my brother's thing. He said, this video is so cringe, in a video my brother did. And his name, he had like 4 followers, and his name was like Bilbo Baggins Returns, 69 or something. And I'm like, this guy doesn't exist. They're trolling is what they're doing. Dude, I had one, I have a video on YouTube on another channel. It's got like 150,000 views, and it's of my son getting scared by a puppy when he was like a month old. And there's literally a guy that started writing on there, I hate babies. And then he'd come on like every other week and he'd write something like, this baby makes me sick. I want to kill this baby. Just sick stuff, Yeah,
there's some messed up people in this world.
That's just a weird guy, man. You can't even take this guy seriously. Does he even hate babies? Probably not. He's probably just a freak that likes to, get a rise out of people on the internet. So you can't worry about those people. You can't worry about all that. And, I think society, I think my kids they're almost like immune to that type of stuff, because it's so freelance now with people just saying whatever the hell they want on the internet, that they've almost, quit responding to it, which is probably a good thing. Skin's having to get thicker. I think mine and your skin was probably thicker than, and in a different way from words and the things that we heard and the things we said than a prior generation. Now theirs might have been thick because they went through World War II. But at the same time, words had changed over time, and people just get so harsh with what they say and what they're willing to say, that people get more and more immune to it. And so everybody just needs to not worry about what people are saying to them on the internet. And if you want to put out content, don't let that be an excuse.
I love that advice. I know I know they decided to work today through Veterans Day, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But before I let you go, as someone who's built a business, who continues to build a business, who is building his own profile as an entity himself, as well, and has a team that you coach each and every single day. Again, a lot of entrepreneurs and business people are listening to this podcast or watch this podcast. can you, other than, I mean, that great, what we just talked about, I almost wanted to end it there, but I know you probably have some more gems, like what sort of sound advice would you give to, someone who's in sales that's looking to, take it up a notch or get to the next level? What are some of the kind of fundamental things that you've done throughout the years that, just work?
So definitely, like we were talking earlier, if you can get to the point where you're sought after, it does become easier to sell. I just put up a video on YouTube yesterday. It was actually it aired today. Is how I sold 117 policies in 1 week, which I say all the time that I don't recommend because it's a lot of work. But I didn't do that chasing people down. I did that getting people to chase me down. And so I was on a call earlier today with an insurance company, and I was late for that call. I was late for this one too. And I told them, I said, I'm bad with appointments. And they said, oh, you're in the wrong business. And I said, no, I'm not. We got rid of appointments a long time ago. I don't do appointments. And I do them for special people, like about me on here, but I don't do like just countless appointments all day. My calendar is not lined up with appointment after appointment after appointment, because I created a business where people are walking in, calling in at will, and we're creating scarcity of like, you got me now, let's finish it up now. Like there's no, I'm waiting until later to do it. I'm putting it off. And so that kind of segues into another, tip is to, create, enough desire to try to get things done now. Don't leave so much open room to, I can do it later. Yeah, I can do it later, because you're afraid that if you don't do it later, that somebody's not going to buy from you. So make sure that you're, letting people know that, you need to be able to do something now. So if I'm in a sales appointment with someone, putting something off until later is not something that I really put out there as like a way to navigate the situation. I'm here now, and I'm not being arrogant, but I do have valuable, the time that I'm putting out here is valuable. The solution that we come up with is the best solution. I'm transferring that confidence, and there's literally no real excuse for us not to just go ahead and take care of this. Now, there's anomalies, and sometimes there are legitimate excuses, but I'm talking about the 95% of the time where there's not a legitimate excuse. People putting it off is because they don't know what the next step is. And so it's create that urgency, become a commodity. And in the interim, it's just put one foot in front of the other, talk to as many people as possible, and work really hard. And Brad Lee, when I was in his Lightspeed studio, he told me, you don't want to work hard. And so I actually wrote on his wall, hard work sucks, because he made me say it. But what he was talking about is physical hard work, like, laying masonite and, getting sand fleas on you, or working in a steel mill or something like that. But mental hard work and continuously doing things can be very tiring and taxing in a certain way. So what? Do it. Quit being a wuss, drink some more caffeine, whatever you got to do, and get through those formative years to where later on you don't want to work hard, or you don't have to work hard. The interesting thing about that other piece, though, is I find that the people that can work hard enough through those first years to get a business on autopilot and really going don't ever really want to stop working hard, because it just turns out that they like working hard and they like the grind and they like the growth. They're not lazy and they want to keep going. And so maybe it's just a certain personality trait. But if that's where you want to be, maybe it just means you have to figure out how to teach yourself how to fall in love with the process and keep going.
Wow, man. I love it. That is a great way to end it. Again, we've been on with Justin Brock. I was introduced to him through social media, Facebook and Instagram. I saw what he was doing. I saw how he's building a very successful insurance agency, and he's also out there building his brand. And I'm always impressed with real people, doing real things. He is an 8-year Marine combat veteran with a family and employees, and he's a busy guy. And if you've been listening up to this point, his dad brought his dogs to the office. He's a real guy doing real things, building a real business, and helping others as well. And so that's why I wanted to have you on. I love having real people that are doing real things that are also having an impact on this planet that we're living on. So if you'd like some more information about Justin, you can just go to justinbrock.com. You can check him out on Instagram at the Justin Brock. Also, you mentioned he's got a bunch of videos out there on YouTube. If you want to learn about the insurance industry, and maybe you kind of like this guy, maybe you want to be an insurance agent, you can go to BobbyBrockInsurance.com as well, and put in your information in there, and maybe this is the industry that you might want to get into. I know that he helps agents with that as well. Again, my name is Mike Alden. That's Justin Brock, and we'll see you soon.